It's been a while since I've played Aska. Since then, there have been some interesting things. From the recent tavern update, along with C rating, which I really wanted to check out. So, it was time to jump back in on a fresh game and see what challenges this Viking survival colony simulation game had in store for me. I go through the usual of collecting some basic supplies before heading off in a random direction to uncover more of the beach. The sooner I get a pickaxe, axe, and a knife, the better. I also know you can never get enough rope. The great thing is, these reeds will respawn rather quickly. I would also rather not deplete the local area, as I'm not expecting to set up my village anywhere near here. One of the first things I'm looking for right away is the location of the cave for mining. I want to be close enough that I can go and mine in there anytime I need, along with sending in a villager from my main village. Another thing I'm hoping to do is fill my inventory with blood shards while out exploring for a cave. I can always dump them onto the ground for a while if needed, as I won't need to go in that direction when looking for more for a while. While usually I feel safe spending up to 3 in-game days looking for one, I ended up and lucked out on finding one rather early. There is just a massive issue. It's in quite a nasty spot. While I could have gone on and hopped to find another, having quite a decent head start from where I usually am, I felt it was worth the risk. since I have plans of wanting to do some sea raiding as well. I wanted something not that far from the beach. There ended up being a decent mix of trees in this location, while I might struggle a little being able to clear the area as I'd like. You need to think about the future and ensure you can get hardwood not that far from where you end up building as well. Ideally, I end up building in the middle or at the edge of a forest. As I clear it for land to build on, I end up getting the wood I need to get some buildings up. I ended up doing a bit of exploring around before deciding on my final spot to set up. I don't feel it's that amazing. However, the fact I could have something built on day 0 was enough for me to consider this spot. I just needed to find a spot I could even clear. I kind of knew I'd be upgrading my pickaxe rather quickly, so I just needed enough space to get started. Building this close to a Draugr field would end up hurting me for a while. They are a bit harder to clear. On the plus side, I'd end up getting quite a lot of drops I could later study for endgame weapons. Terraforming is still quite a pain in Aska. I'd even run into the usual troubles with it later on. For now, at least I wanted a decent flat area as my main village. Later on, I'd kind of just give up on that and build stuff on slopey land, as some of the building, including new stuff to me, are quite massive buildings. The amount of land needed to be flat just to fit them is kind of crazy. I'll save you some of these boring tasks of leveling land. At least I was able to get a decent area to start with. Time to get a simple campfire down and start expanding. I'm sure I'll outgrow the area I leveled at a decent rate. It should, for now, be decent enough to get some things down. Aska sure loves to toss some early game issues at you. I already feel like I'm well ahead of my normal pace. Water tends to be my next concern. While I can get a little from some of the kinds of food you can search for, I'd rather not worry about it. I also want some villagers rather quickly, despite the fact that they still seem not to be so bright. While I myself have little use for a shelter unless I want to heal, I'll be needing one for my first villager. It also just feels like you need one with how most survival games are. It's kind of nice to have some light from a campfire at night. Not that this game gets that dark or anything that you need it. It's also still quite warm this time of year. I don't need it for heat either. Now for the rather important Eye of Odin, so I can start summoning in villagers. I don't really care for either of my choices for my first villager. It also doesn't matter that much to me either. I just need people at this point, helping out if you can, even calling them helping. It was at this point I realized I made a massive mistake. I had terraformed the natural water source. There would be no getting it back. Thankfully, there are a couple of other ones not that far away. They are, however, a lot closer to the Draugr field than I'd like to be building anything. At least for now, basic water collection will more than meet my short-term needs. I then spent the remainder of my first night leveling more land, summing up more villagers in, along with bedding some further basic things down, like more shelters. While things could have gone a lot better, it's hard not to be thrilled with how quickly I found a cave to go mining in at some point,